morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody's having an awesome day today. I apologize for the tardiness. Something random happened. My screens weren't working. Had to reboot my computer twice, but we are ready to rock and roll. So as always, let's turn off all distractions, grab a pen and paper for notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in since we are a couple minutes behind. And so I'm going to switch over to trading economics, take a quick look at the fundamentals, see what we have shaken for the morning. And drop me one real quick if you can see my screen, trading economics, just to make sure that we are good. Perfect. Appreciate it. All right. So UK inflation slows less than forecasted. Inflation rate in the UK fell to 8.7% in April, the lowest since March 2022 due to sharp slowdowns in electricity and gas prices. Still, it exceeded market expectations of 8.2% and remained well above the BOE's target of 2%. The core rate, which excluded food and energy, jumped to 6.8%, highest since 1992, above forecast of 6.8, right? So inflation in the UK is still a problem. Still a problem, all right? Then we had treasury yields still remain high as folks are looking at the debt ceiling conversation, right? Treasury yields they move was around 3.7% on Wednesday, close to levels not seen since mid-March as investors follow the debt ceiling impasse and monetary policy outlook. Yields on lower maturity bonds, which are associated with higher risk of default, have experienced significant increase, with the 4-week bill reaching 5.8%. Talks on the government debt limit will continue this week, but a deal has not been reached yet. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said on Tuesday the two sides have yet to reach a deal to avert the first ever U.S. default. Meanwhile, from several Fed officials have been raising bets that interest rates will stay higher for longer. The probability of a pause in the rate hike cycle has been falling this week, right? We talked about beginning of the week yesterday, that was around 80%, and that's decreasing quite a bit. Right now it stands at 64%. 64% of those surveyed now are looking at a pause, and the likelihood of a 25 basis point increase has rose to 36% from 20% last week, right? On the other hand, expectations of a rate cut this year have also decreased. So that tone is starting to shift because they're still seeing the potential for inflation to be a problem, right? We had home sales increase. We had PMI increase, speed up. So we still have a problem when it comes to inflation. We still have folks spending money in still a relatively big way. All right. So that conversation is happening and the tone is starting to shift a little bit. All right. Brent climbs on Brent crude futures jumped to $78 per barrel on Wednesday, right? Rising from a third straight session to the highest levels in 3 weeks as a warning from Saudi energy minister stoked fears of further OPEC production cuts. Saudi Arabia's Prince Salman told speculators to watch out in what analysis took as a signal that OPEC Plus could consider further output cuts at a meeting on June the 4th. Meanwhile, industry data showed that the U.S. crude inventories declined by about 6.8 million barrels last week, defying the forecast of a $0.525 million barrel increase. Gasoline inventories also dropped by about 6.4 million, while distillate inventories fell by 1.8 million. The data came ahead of Memorial Day holiday, which traditionally marks the beginning of U.S. peak summer travel. Elsewhere, investors continue to monitor the debt ceiling conversation, and in the U.S., where there have been few indicators of progress being made, even as the risk of default estimated early June looms. Right, so you got oil pushing to the upside, so that does also mean potential catalyst for that CAD to gain a little bit of strength. All right, so that is it from a fundamental perspective. Over to the calendar real quick. Here we go. On Wednesday, right, you see those CPI numbers all ahead of expectation. You see that core CPI increased, and the CPI overall went to 8.7. The estimate was 8.2. All right, so later on today, we had Governor Bailey speaking. A couple times today, we had Governor Bailey speaking, and then 2 o'clock, we got those Fed meeting minutes. Last night, Reserve Bank of New Zealand increased the cash rate by 25 basis points, which was the expectation. However, in the statement, right, it was stated, right, global growth remains weak, inflation pressures are easing, right? Reserve Bank of New Zealand sees cash rate peaking at 5.5%, which is where they currently are. And they see cuts starting from third quarter of 2024, right? Committee agreed that neither decision would cause unnecessary instability in output, interest rates, or exchange rate. Predicts negative GDP growth in Q2 and Q3 of 2023, right? So that's what was in the statement. And then during the press conference, we had Governor Orr make these statements. It's been a long battle. Today was the first time the Monetary Policy Committee went to vote over the decision. Outlook for fiscal spending is contradictory on demand. Expect to keep restrictive monetary policy for some time. Forecast is that the surge in immigration will ease off. No longer about labor shortage, right? There's no longer labor issues. It's now about a demand shortage. So basically, it's been a long battle, but he believes that they're at a point now where they can start to potentially have different conversations. So going forward, we could start to see conversations of New Zealand potentially pausing and staying at that 5.5%, which they stated in that statement is estimated to be the peak for interest rate hikes. So we saw those New Zealand pairs and New Zealand crosses really jump yesterday. So we'll take a look at those. We got some potential opportunities off of those impulsive moves. So that is it from a fundamental perspective. Any questions? I know that was a lot. No? All right, sweet. So let's hop over to the charts. We'll take a look at the dollar first. Then I want to go through these New Zealand pairs because we got a few that are setting up kind of nicely for us. So, hide that here. All right, dollar pushing. This is on the 1 hour. 50% retracement. Dollar's pushing long right now. All right, dollar's pushing long. Hop over to the VIXY really quick. Joy 19.19. So inching closer to 19.58. Sorry. Pushing closer to that 20 mark, right? That 20 is that kind of hinge point of risk on, risk off. And we are getting there pretty quickly. All right. So we're moving more into a risk off environment. So what that does mean is safe havens. Look for capital to move there and capital to move out of your commodity currencies, right? So, and then you also see dollar pushing to the upside, right? Dollar strength, dollar strength, dollar strength. All right, so on the 4, this is what that looks like. Take this one off. Oops. Maybe. There we go. All right, pushing to this D extension to the upside here. Okay, so we got some situations to look at and look out for when it comes to the dollar, right? It's running and it's running strong. Okay, so those NZD pairs, NZD Swiss. Here we are on the 1 hour, we're pushing down to the support level at 55.030. Come back to the daily so we see it from a broader perspective. There we go. That's the larger fib on this New Zealand Swissy, right? Pushing to the downside, 50% retracement. We've been pushing short, okay? Been pushing short. And what we'll do is we will start running fibs off of the high just to get us a closer look at what's happening. So right now, this is our C, right? So I'll take this larger fib off just so we can see it a little more clearly. And we'll just look at these smaller waves coming down, right? So pushed back up to the upside. Let's take these out. I'll take that one out for a second. Just run the fib off the high here. Boom. All right, so we're pushing to the downside. Off these smaller waves, you got 8.6 retracement, price pressing to the downside. And most recently, we've been caught in this range. Okay, top of the range, made our way to the bottom. Now we want to see here what happens. Do we break the support level at 55.030 and continue bearish to get to the D extension, or do we see a press down and another push back to the top of the range? All right, so this is one that I want to take a look at and or keep our eyes on closely, right? So let's move down through the time frames. We're making our way to the D extension, yes, right? And we got our waves working. Boom. Okay, there's our fib on the 4. We pushed up just shy of that 382, and we're pushing back down. Okay, so now it's just a matter of, does this level hold or does it get broken? Okay, if it gets broken, push down to this lower level, D extension off the larger fib on the daily, right? Also got a monthly support level at 52,976. All right, so that's a potential 80-20 scenario there if we break that level and continue pressing to the downside. All right, so coming down to our 1, zoom back. And we'll run our fib. Oops. We'll track these to the downside here. There we go. Okay. Uh-oh. That one still didn't come out. Hold on 1 second, everybody. All right. That should have reset that. No, still didn't. Hold on. Let's go back to the 4. We'll take these out. There we go. All right, we'll pull those out. Now we'll come to this point here on the 1, and we'll track the waves to the downside. There we go. Like so. All right, so here we are on the 1. Okay, this is our capital fib on the 1, right? 80-20 scenario pushed up. We got to that 382 daily resistance level, double top, we're pressing down, right? Matching the extension here. So if this level holds, we could potentially look for a reversal, right? Playing the range back to the top of that support, 170, almost a 200 pip range there, right? So we could have a potential for, right, a sub fib 80-20 scenario here. Let's see. No, that new fib didn't pop in yet. This candle broke that low. I was looking at a potential opportunity here, but that didn't create the low yet. So we're still waiting on the low to form. So we'll watch this one. When I was looking at it earlier, looking at the potential for sub fib AB boundary and a pullback off of this strong impulsive move, right? Because we know off of these impulsive moves, we generally we see a retracement before we get that continuation. So we'll keep our eyes on this one, and we'll watch the support level here for potential retracement. All right, this low 55,226. 222. Yeah, so that did break that low. So we'll watch the support level at 55,030. See if that level holds. If it does, we'll look at a low to form somewhere in this range, right? And a potential 80-20 opportunity. Give us a high price to then get back short. All right, you guys follow me there?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool deal. So we'll continue to monitor that and see if we get price to slow down and push into that level. Okay. Then over to the NGD JPY. All right. That 80-20 played out beautifully. Strong push to the downside. Right. So we'll see. We actually broke this level again. Let's come back to the weekly. Yep, so we've been playing at that level. We'll take that out now. No longer valid. Oops. There we go. Resistance level. We're coming to the downside there. All right, so we took back that previous weekly candle. We're taking back a majority of that candle on the weekly time frame. Coming down to the daily. We zoom out. That's the range that we've been playing in. Okay. That's the range. So likely making our way back down to the bottom of that range. Okay. Making our way back down to the bottom of that range. So now as we continue making our way through the time frames, we got the retracement. We didn't get to the D extension, press back down. Now it's a question of, do we get a reversal and a pullback and then a continuation short here, right? We saw that VIXY pushing to the upside. Do we get some temporary relief and then a continuation short? Okay. So now here on the 1, this is where we sit. Hold on. Maybe. Let's see, did that come out? Nope. Let's go back to the 4. There we go. All right. There we go. Now I'll come back to the 1. All right. And this is our fib here. Not that. Boom. There we go. All right. So 618 retracement. Don't necessarily think that we'll get a full reversal here, but could we get a pullback for a high price to then continue short? All right. That's what I'm potentially looking at here. So we can run our sub fibs off the high, right? We know we got a D extension achieved. We're overextended. Okay. Coming into some previous support levels. See if we get swing low to form and a reversal here. All right. Maybe another push down, take out that A, right? Swing low, 236 retracement, right? And then see if we get price to push down into this 118 and 127 zone, potentially take out the A, and then see if we get a reversal and a continuation. Something like that. So we'll monitor this one as well. Look for that swing low to form, and then see if we get a reversal come out of it. Okay. But to the downside, TP2 achieved off of the 80-20. Beautiful play, right? Out of the zone, 254 pips to the downside there. Questions on the NZD JPY?
No.
All right, cool deal. 1 second. All right. Over to NZD CAD real quick. Don't have anything necessarily on it, right? We're pressing to the downside, right? Making our way to the D extension, 618 retracement. Didn't get to the 786 level. So our matching D extension is here just outside of that daily support at 81,056. So similar scenario as the others, right? We'll look to see if we get a sub fib retracement. Off of this push, right? Be a smaller move, but we'll see if we get it, right? We'll have a fresh AB boundary pop in here, right? We got that swing low to form, D extension achieved, first swing low, 2 candles to the right after that D extension was achieved is there, right? So now we're pushing to the 118, 127 zone. So we'll see if we get something like this to occur. Retracement back into the sweet spot, and then that continuation short to make our way to the D extension. All right. So if you're looking for some of those intraday opportunities, right, look at some of these sub fibs potentially drop down to the 15, right? And these are some opportunities we could take a look at playing. Okay. If you're trading those smaller waves. Boom. All right. So there's your 80-20 on the 15. Okay. So intraday opportunities, if that is your style, if that's your cup of tea. Boom. Like that. All right. And those other NZD pairs, right, you can drop down to the 15 and run those the exact same way. Okay. So there's your opportunity there on the 15. 114 pips back to the 618 TP2. Beautiful opportunity. Okay. Overall, potential looking for a high price to then get short and continue to the downside in favor of the CAD. Okay, questions on the NZD CAD? Nope. All right. Cool. All right, so let's Aussie NZD, and then we'll take a look at the Euro NZD also. All right. Again, those strong moves here, right? We had that push down, stall at that level, strong push to the upside, right? It's like a 200 pip candle to the upside here. As we move down through the time frames on the 4, we had that sub fib 80-20 scenario, push to a TP2 beautifully, right? Beautiful push there. Now we want to see, do we maybe push a little bit higher to get to the 618 again, right? Give us a double top scenario here. And then do we get back short, right? Or at least take back some of the strong bullish push to the upside. Okay. At least some of that bullish push to the upside. In this one. Okay. It's been running strong. So now as we come down to our 1 hour, this is what we have. We took out our A, right? There's that swing that we looked at. We got the break of the trend line, and it just ran on us, right? Ran to the upside. Pushed through all of our TP levels here. Now flip the fib, run it from the low. Okay, and here we sit. AB boundary, no retracement. Let's see if we get a push into this 118, 127 zone here. And see if we can get a reversal and get back to a low price. Okay. So not a trade yet, but let's see if we get a push into this zone and get price to stall out there. Get us some sideways movement and then see if we get a push to the downside. Okay. Looking at something like that. So be patient, allow it to develop, right? Allow it to push into that zone and then see if we get that reversal there. Okay. Questions here on this Aussie New Zealand. Nope. All right. Cool deal. So we got the volatility that we wanted. Now let's see if we can play these retracements, right? Allow them to develop and get that pushback down to the downside. Euro NZD. All right, we talked about looking for price to push back into this zone here, right? Previous resistance level. This was a monthly level, got broken. This is a daily level here. So what I want to see now is, right, strong bullish push. Do we push back into this zone, right? This is the range that price broke out previously, right? It had a previous support level here, right? Strong bearish candle. So do we take back a portion of that initial strong bearish candle to the downside here, right? So do we get another push to the upside into the zone and then get that reversal to continue to the downside for this crown pattern to play out, right? Do we get that action? Okay, so here on the weekly, this is what we talked about, right? Strong bearish action. Now we got some strong bullish action. We'll see what happens, right? Is this a pullback? Because we didn't really strong move to the downside on the weekly. Nice pullback here. And then do we get price to turn back over and make its way back down to the downside? Okay, so that's the daily. Here we come to the 4. Boom. 80-20 scenario, played out beautifully. TP2, 618 retracement, right? And we talked about this double bottom last night. And then we got the push right back into that zone. All right. So now we're sitting there at this resistance level. Do we get another push there and then a retracement? Okay. Off that level, we'll look at it on the one as well, but 330 pips to the upside. That's a beautiful play. Right. So now it's a question of, do we continue, right? Do we break through this zone? This is that zone I marked out on the daily. Do we continue long, right? Or do we stall out here and continue to the downside from that higher time frame? So coming down now to the one, here was the move, right? We got the breakout to the upside. Boom. It's that daily level. Technically there, right? And this is that zone that I marked out on the daily. Okay. It's the zone I marked out on the daily. That patience thing, man. That patience thing.
Let me tell you about the patience on this chart. I've been trying to get my computer up so I can have my charts ready so I can be factual when I speak. I've been sitting in this so long, I've been debating whether or not to close it. I was going through that notion. So I didn't close it that day, so I journaled. Like I really want to close it straight. So
good.
I sat in it. I had 3 entries. 1 didn't survive, but 2 did. And then this morning, I was like, I said, I wonder if it's going to keep going and then come back and then go back up. But I left it open. I still left it open. So I'm very proud of myself this morning.
Good job, right? You're going through that process, that journaling process, not allowing the emotion to overtake you, right? But writing down your thoughts, how you feel. Yeah, drop some 7s in the chat for Joy. That's a huge win.
Oh,
right?
Thank you.
Managing those emotions, documenting them, right? It's literally the process that we talk about, right? Documenting how you feel through the process. So now you can understand what those feelings are and now build in things to have you double check. So you went through that process, you saw where it was. What am I going to do? You allowed it to move, right? You allowed the market to do what it does. You didn't allow the emotions to dictate what you do. You allowed your rules to dictate what you do.
Man, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
I literally went back. I don't know who my age, but I got a rubber band around my wrist. It don't say what would Jesus do. It just say, think about it.
Think about it. Yeah. Think about it, right? Just take a pause, take a deep breath, think about it, and walk through your process. Is this met? Is this met? Is this met? Yes or no? Not how do I feel, but is it met? Yes or no? And now we can look at it more objectively to really make that decision based on what the market is telling us, not what our emotions are telling us. Right? That's beautiful. Kudos, Joy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Beautiful. So now we're sitting here, right? And it is a question, right? Do we get a pullback that comes, right? 300 pips in a profit. My stop loss is here. I am thinking about closing this out, right? Because we're up over 300 pips on this move.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My stop loss is up underneath the last. Yep.
Right,
nope. Yep. Round that area. I got 2 positions. I always do 2 positions. I'm starting to do 20 cents, but in 2 positions. So I got one of the positions to close out if it's right there. So then that way I can at least bank what my profitable goal is. And the other I left like a runner just in case if it decided still wanted to go up. But then I still moved it in profit, but not too far up. I got it to where the previous fib extension.
Right here.
Yeah, I got it right there just in case if it decided just want to come to the 382 and go back up.
Yeah, that's beautiful, right? So now you're playing with house money, right?
Is that what that is?
You playing with house money.
Hey, I want some more.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, right? Yeah. So Benita asked, can I talk about my exit strategy? Absolutely. So two things, right? One is surely does my TP get hit, right? And here my goal was to get price to come back to this level, right? This was a monthly level that we had marked. I changed it to a daily because that monthly level ended up getting taken out. So my goal was this 330 pips back to this level, right? So I didn't have that TP level set in here because there is potential for it to continue riding longer. So that's one piece. On most of my trades, I have a TP level set on the 80-20s. The majority of them I set it at the 382, right? Unless it's a daily or a weekly where that could run a little longer, right? So number one, does my TP get hit, right? In this scenario, my TP got hit, right? So I am going to go in and close this trade. The other thing is, right, do I anticipate a pullback and a continuation, right? So meaning, do I anticipate price to pull back to a sweet spot to give a low price to then continue long, right? And in this scenario, I don't, right? My bias on this one off of the weekly time frame is this crown pattern and it's short, right? So I don't anticipate, or my bias isn't for price to continue long here, okay? So because my bias isn't for it to continue long, I want to make sure that I secure my profit, right? So I'm going to manually close this one because price did get to my TP level and I'm not looking for price to continue. What I'm looking for is an 80-20 scenario here on the 1 hour, right? So I'm not looking for that to occur, but what I'm looking for is this to occur, right? That's what I'm looking for. And then potentially to continue to the downside. So we're going to go in and close this trade, right? For that reason. I didn't close this trade earlier this morning because I wanted to have this conversation. So Benita, I appreciate you. But 330 pips to the upside. So now I sit and wait for my next opportunity, right? But that's my thought process as I go through. If I have a situation where I haven't set a take profit level and I go through and I manually close a trade, that's the process that I go through, right? Is my TP hit? Yes or no, right? Do I anticipate price to continue long after a retracement, right? Now, if I do anticipate price to continue long, right, off of that retracement, what I would do is, like my stop losses moved into profit, and generally I'll take half of the trade off the table, right, and allow the trade to continue to run. But what I'll be looking for is price to come back into my sweet spot then, right? I'll leave a portion of the trade open. I'll look for price to come back into my sweet spot. And that's the scenario where I then add to the trade for that price to continue to the upside, right? If I anticipate, right, or if my bias is for price to continue in that direction, I'll look for this opportunity, an opportunity to add to the trade. So then I just take a position at that 618, 786 range, right? Like that. Does that make sense? You guys follow me on that thought process?
Yes.
Cool. Right. So now here we are, right? We close that trade, 330 pips in profit. Beautiful move. Great work for those that are able to take advantage of it. Now I'm sitting and waiting on this. All right. And once we get price to push into that 118, 127 zone, right? Our stop loss look like this. And the cycle starts over again. Boom. Right. Now this one, I anticipate going longer, but right, if you're just playing the 80-20 off of that 1 hour time frame, this will be what you're looking at here. Right. That'll be what you're looking at. But coming back to this higher time frame, right? This is what we saw. 618 retracement, daily support. Right? Now we're in this range. top of the range, bottom of the range, back to the top of the range? Do we push above and then come back down? All right. You'll get there, Carolyn, one step at a time. You're doing great. Right. It's about the progress. Right. One of the things as far as senior profit go, right, you really have to start to hone in now, right? You're making those steps. The next step in that process is identifying the overall bias and the overall direction and where you see price moving, right? Where you see price moving. Because if you do see price continuing to the upside, right, and price hasn't hit your take profit level, allow price to go, right? So some of those trades where you haven't gotten to your TP level yet, you don't want to close those trades too early all the time, right? You want to allow the runners to get to those TP levels and just be patient, right? And do like Joy and journal the feelings and allow the market to do what it does, right? So that's what we're looking at there on this Euro NZD. Okay. Questions here? Yeah. And so start thinking through those things, right? Because that was one of my struggles too. And I had to go back and force myself to set a take profit target, right? And what I chose to do based on the process and the methodology that we teach, right? I'm just going to take profit at TP1, right? That's how I started going through that, right? On those 80-20s, I'm taking profit at TP1. Boom. Right? Then it went to, okay, take profit at TP1. There are some that I do see these longer reversals occurring on a higher time frame. So I won't take profit at TP1 on that lower time frame. I'll take a portion off the table off of a smaller wave on the lower time frame, wait for a pullback, and then I can add to that trade to then compound that trade as it continues to move in the direction that I anticipate. Right. So that was my evolution as I went through it. So start looking at some of those things, right, and implement one at a time so that you can step your way into that consistency. Right. So I hope that makes sense. All right. So there we are there. Let's look at. Take a look at this Euro Yen. I want to catch up on that Swiss Yen as well, see where it's at. Let's see. All right. So on the daily, 618 retracement, weren't able to break above the daily level, pushed down, came back below a previous monthly, and we're holding at that level now. All right, come down to the 4. Let's see. On the fib here off the low. Oh, no, there we go. That's our larger move there. So I'll take those smaller waves out. There we go. B boundary 236 on the 1, and we're bouncing a bit here, right? Trying to push back down to the downside. We might not have much doing here. Let's come to the 1. Haven't gotten to the D extension yet on the 1. Okay, came just shy of it here on Monday, and we started pressing back down to the downside. But that was the move to the upside there. We'll just continue to watch this one. This one's in between. Yeah, this one is in between. That shouldn't be there. That should be there, like that. Yeah, nothing doing here. I want to see if we can push up to get to that 8.6 retracement. I mean, that 8.6 D extension. I'll take a look at it for sure. Yeah. So nothing doing on the Euro JPY. Still looking at a potential another push to the upside. It may shift, right? It may turn with these yens and start coming back down to the downside. We'll see. If it does, obviously we'll just let it go and we'll wait for a reset. So nothing doing there. Nothing doing there. Swiss yen. Where are we at? There we go. Swiss yen, higher time frame. Right. We know on the daily, we hit the D extension, right? 8.6 retracement, 118 D extension level. And we got a reaction. It's also weekly resistance. Okay. Also weekly resistance. So moving down through the time frames, here's your 80-20 scenario here on the 4. Right. And we're trying to start making our way to the downside. It hasn't fully got moving yet. Right. Just inching out of that zone. So right now, sitting up 60 pips. We'll see if we can get some continuation and follow through to the downside there. Okay. So that's the 80-20 on the 4 that we are monitoring and looking at least coming back to this daily support level, but definitely would love it to get back to that TP1 level on the 834 pips to the downside. All right. So that's where we sit on the 4 coming to the 1. Right. This was a fresh AB boundary. We talked about yesterday morning, that retracement, and then getting in to get short if you weren't in it already, or if you're using a cloud as your confirmation, waiting for the break of the cloud. You got the break of the cloud, you got a pullback, and now you're starting to see that push. All right, now you're starting to see that push. So continue to monitor this one to the downside, allow it to continue to develop, right? Be patient with it and allow price to move. Boom. Right. There's your fibs. You got to push back to a 50% level on that pullback. Now you're making your way to the D extension. Okay. Bullish cloud ahead. We broke the cloud, so we're headed to the downside. So now it's just about patience and allowing the trade to move. Right. You'll have your ups and downs. We know that the market moves in waves. You'll get your pullbacks, and those will be opportunities to scale into that trade. All right. So that's where we sit. All right. And this is where we'll monitor this. So that's the Swiss yen. Any questions here? Oh. All right. Dollar yen. Let's see. We're hovering, man. We're hovering, right? We had some posted in the Discord, just pressing sideways in that 118 and 127 zone. Okay. Slowing down. We'll see. Got a lot of back and forth happening here, right? And this is one that's always interesting because you have your safe haven, but you also have the dollar that also acts as a safe haven as well, right? So you get a battle like this in times of uncertainty. So we could potentially even stay in this range for a bit, right? We could. So we'll continue to monitor and watch, see how it goes. But we'd love to see it go ahead and break down and make its way down to the downside. But we'll see. Okay. But that's the 80-20 there on the 1 hour on the dollar yen.
Yeah, it's been like that for at least a week now.
Yeah. It has. So there's your cloud there, right? We're approaching the cloud. Don't have a bearish twist yet. So patience, right? Again, just allowing it to develop, allow it to do its thing. Okay. Allow it to do its thing. And then we'll move from there. Okay. So that's another good setup there. Questions on the dollar yen? No? All right. And then I'm going to look back at this pound CAD real quick. So we talked about this one last night. Here on the 4, we got a 618 retracement. Boom. Double bottom there. Tried to push to the upside. Came back. Got a push, came back. Let's see if we're able to get bullish here. I know oil's moving to the upside. We got some light CAD strength due to the oil movement. Let's see if this that data for the BOE gives us an opportunity to get long here. Yeah. Broke the cloud, came back to it. Now we're trying to push to the upside. You see the lagging span also broke through the cloud and pulled back to the cloud, right? We got a bullish cloud ahead. Let's see if we can get some follow through here on this move to the upside, right? So we're tracking this one off of a 618 retracement on the 4-hour time frame. Okay. This is what we're tracking this off of. So entry there, stop loss there. Okay. Take profit there. Boom. There it is. All right. So in this scenario, we're risking 273 pips for the potential 595. Right. Uh, 67438. All right, that's awesome. 6-7, right around this range here. Beautiful. Great work. Great work. 618 retracement. Take action. Sweet. Right. So now we just let it do its thing. Now we let it do its thing. All right. Allow it to move. Man, listen, the opportunities are there, right? You guys are making great progress. I love to see it, right? Those small actions, they add up over time. One step, one trade, 1% better every day. That's the goal. That's the goal. So any questions before we wrap it up today?
Yeah, I did want you. I know you looked at a couple of them. If you can look at CAD J. I don't even know if you did.
Look at it real quick. It's trying, right? It's trying to get to that daily 382. Been a beautiful move. Starting to stall out a bit because we got some potential yen movement happening. What we could see here, Joy, is potentially a pullback to retest that daily level.
Yeah.
All right. And we'll when we get down to lower time frame, kind of retested there, somewhere in that zone. And then another push to the upside there. So coming to the 4, this is what we have on the 4. We had that 786 retracement. It's not counting that. Interesting. I didn't get there yet. Okay. 786 retracement, right? The D extension is there. Could see something like this happen. And then get to that 4-hour D extension and continue to the upside like that. And then on the 1-hour, reason I say that is here. You got 80-20 scenario right here. That 382 is in line with that daily support, a 101, 190. So that move is there. Look for that retracement and then continuation. Like that. That's what I think. That's what I think.
And it's a trip because it's like right there. And I'm
yeah, it's playing with you. Yeah. But if we continue to see, right, some of that oil strength, we might start to get some bouncing back and forth with that Saudi statement, right? We could see a little bit of a battle, but also just the overall risk sentiment, right? If that continues to pick up, we could see that push this to the downside here. If that risk sentiment picks up, and then once things kind of settle out a bit, and oil comes back in the focus, then seeing that push back to the upside. Yep. That's what I think.
Brian,
That's interesting. Yes.
I just want to ask you a quick question. I remember when you shared like how when you first started, you were kind of on the charts every day.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, do you have any suggestions? Like, how does a person keep track? Like, if they wanted to like go that route, how did you keep track? Did you take snapshots of the screen every day and watch the progress of each pair, or were you just writing just notes in a just keeping that notebook and every day keeping track of it like that? Do you have any suggestions on how the best way to keep track of something if you want check in?
I don't know if there's a best way, right? So you'll have to, I'm saying that just from a documentation standpoint, you'll have to figure out what you can organize the best, right? Journaling is a beautiful thing, right? So writing down what you see, tracking the trades that you're in, right? So as you're going through and marking those up, what I did do at that time, because I didn't have a full journal and all that at this time. This was back in 2014, 15, 16. But what I did do is the trades that I was in, I'd write those trades down. So I had them and I was tracking them, my entries, my stop loss, and my anticipated take profit. And then I literally just go through, clear out the charts and just remark them to see if I saw the same thing. So when I got to those trades that I was in, did my bias stay the same or not? Right. Okay. So that's how I tracked it then. If I did that now, what I would do is in my journal, right, and working on some things as far as the journal software goes, but I would take screenshots, right, and save those screenshots either in a folder or in wherever I'm keeping my notes, and I take a screenshot of before and after, right, and when I saw trade setup, if I took, whether I took it or not, right, just taking a screenshot, marking it out like we do, right? Having your stop loss and your take profit, right? Put your stop loss in, boom. And then the take profit, boom, and seeing how it plays out, right? And so therefore you can go back, you have it marked out in your chart so you can see it. And as you see with a lot of these pairs, I haven't deleted these old markings, right? This is a way for me to keep current documentation, but I'm also taking screenshots of these as well. But you can mark these out and just allow them to move. And then you can go back and you can scroll through your chart to say, okay, did this play out or not? Right. And you can take your screenshots as you're moving forward. So you have them in your document, in your journal, right? And you have them on your chart as well. So at the end of the year, you go back and you assess. Now you can scroll through your chart and look at all the trade setups that were there, right? If you want to go back and do back testing, Benny and I do that as well, right? And you can go back and just scroll through to say, okay, that one played out, right? That one didn't. What? And then you can go back and look, okay, at this time, maybe that trade just continued to run into the upside, right? 80-20 didn't play out. What happened fundamentally, right? You can hop into Google, what happened on this day with these two currencies, right? From a fundamental perspective, you can document that. So now you're able to see your trade setup. Did it play out or not? And you have the fundamental documentation. So now you can start to add those things together, say, okay, these types of things occur at these fundamental points, at these support and resistance levels, we get these types of reactions. So now you can really start to merge these things together to have a full data set in your mind and actually on your chart, and you can put those things together one to one. Does that make sense?
It does. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But starting out, man, the biggest thing is the repetition. And the more you're able to see it, the more you're able to see it, right? And it starts to become second nature to you, right? So literally going back, like Benny and I do this once a year, right? We'll go all the way back to the beginning of the year and we'll run the fibs on a 1 hour time frame, right? And that's why we started adding these, we just started doing it recently, but adding these markings in so that we can track the trades that we take on the chart. And as we scroll back to look at those, we can see where we were and what happened, right? Like you see here, this was a move that initially didn't play out, right? Price moved to the downside, shallow retracement, 118 and 127 zone, just continued running. So that was a loss, but we continued tracking, got another 80-20 opportunity, and look what happened, right? So it allows you to see all of that movement occur. It's a beautiful thing, right? So keep at it. But from a documentation standpoint, we're working on some things for you guys from a journaling perspective. We just want to test some of the software out to make sure that it fits what we need. But writing it down is a good thing, right? You get your notebook and write everything down. Or if you're a digital person, putting it into a spreadsheet like JC has it, right? Broken down, spread out so that you can see it that way. So it is like a book, right? But figuring out what type of documentation you relate with best, right? And you can keep organized the best and the easiest, right? Because you don't want it to be a cumbersome process, because if it's a cumbersome process, you're less likely to do it, right? So we also want to make it something that we can do that fits into the way our brain works and how our mind works, and something that allows us to move through on a daily basis relatively simply. So oh, listen, look, it would definitely be a phenomenal book. It'd be a phenomenal book, right? The ebbs and flows of the market. So cool, dude. Any other questions before we wrap it up?
I just wanted to add that even though when you get the reps in, there's still another stretch that you have to stretch yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a process for
The
sure.
repetition never stops. It
Yeah.
never stops. But yeah, that second stretch, now that you got the reps and you start to see it, now to really understand what you see, to feel what you see, right? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And truly understand why the market moves the way that it moves, and then build in the discipline. That's that second stretch that Donette is talking about, that discipline. Now I see it. I got the repetition. Now I've built my rules. Now the second stretch of the repetition is consistently doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? Shifting from, oh, I feel this, to this is what I see. This is what the market is telling me. This is what my rules say. Does it meet it? Yes or no? Right? And that's the second part of the repetition and the daily work that goes in to really start to shift those neuronic connections in the brain. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. I appreciate you guys. Continue putting in the work, man. Again, 1%, 1%. That's the goal. 1% better every day will change the world. You guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Logan says hello. Good morning to you. Have an awesome day. We will.
Happy Luau Day.
Logan said happy Luau Day. It's Luau Day at school for him. So
Happy Luau Day, Logan.
they said happy Luau Day. All right, everybody. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you tonight. Peace.
Thank you. Have a good day, love.